an exciting impromptu little recording that Julio and I are doing to talk about his son Aiden's autism journey. And Aiden was diagnosed with autism about a year ago. And I had been working with Julio at the time. He was my client and still is. We just finished our session. And I was like, you know what? Let's see what we can do here to help Aiden out. So I had learned about autism in school and had learned about some really great testing options that were available and was excited to apply some of that stuff here. And it's been such a cool journey. And especially, Julio, you send me videos of Aiden and his progress. And I was so happy to see, like, even last night when you sent me the video of him drumming, I was like, man, this kid's got rhythm. And I even showed my mom, I was like, this kid's good, right? And then, like, him riding the scooter. And so it's just really cool to see, like, him growing and able to do things that normal kids do. But we also wanted to do this to give hope to other parents out there. So, Julio, I was thinking maybe you could just kind of share what the experience has been like for you if you want to start in the beginning. And of course, we'll get into like how Aiden has progressed. Like if you want to share like some specific things that you've noticed him progressing with, and we'll talk a little bit for the parents out there that want to know what we're doing. We'll end up discussing that as well. But to start, if you can just give us an idea of what it was like when you got that diagnosis and maybe some of the things going through your head and any feelings or emotions that you had that parents might be able to relate to.
Well, yeah, it was just we knew something was wrong with Aiden when we noticed that his speech went away. So when he was born, he was hitting his milestones. We took him to doctor's appointments, and he was meeting all his goals and his developmental stages. He was talking. He was saying his alphabet. He was 2 years old, saying his alphabet. You would show him a letter, and he would tell you what letter it was. He knew his numbers, 1 through 20 in Spanish and English. He was learning his alphabet in Spanish, and then something happened. And I think you go down the rabbit's hole when you go into this, theories and whatever. But something happened to him, and all of a sudden, he lost eye contact. He lost his speech. He was saying "mommy," "daddy." All of that went away, and we saw him just sitting there. And all of a sudden, he would stand in the middle of the living room and you start spinning in circles. And we're like, I thought he's just playing. We brought it up to his pediatrician. His pediatrician is like, "Oh, he's a boy. He'll start talking when he wants to talk. Boys are stubborn, girls are smarter." And we're like, "Okay, cool. That's okay. That's his doctor telling us, and we're taking, the word of a medical professional." But something didn't stick right. We started doing research, and then we brought it back to his doctor. His doctor says, "Okay, if you're that concerned, we'll take you to a neurologist." We went to a neurologist in December of 2024, December 11th, 2024. It's like I remember the day like it was yesterday because like that's the day that my life changed, right? And I get emotional because he, our little boy got taken away, and we, you get shocked when you hear that your kid's autistic. You're gonna have to live with this his whole life. You're gonna have to, he's gonna have to be supported his whole life. And I was like, no way, dude, that's not gonna happen. We're gonna look and we're gonna research. And I started looking at autism, and my thing was I started researching autism reversals, autism cures, and I found all these parents talking about how they cured their kids from autism, and it all stemmed from changing their diet, gluten-free diet, dairy-free diet, and they noticed changes right away when they started doing these things. And so I think one article that I saw or one video that I saw, a family in California was talking about giving their kid raw cow milk. And I think that's how we started because I brought it up to you and I was like, I'm gonna ask Lindsey because Lindsey will know this. And then we just started on this whole journey together. And it's been amazing because ever since then we've had more eye contact. He's starting to talk more. He's starting to, do things that he wasn't doing before. Now you hear him reciting his ABCs again. He's reciting his numbers again. The other day he was saying his rainbow colors again, and he's playing his drums again because he loves music. He has a little accordion that he runs around with playing the accordion,
He's so
and
good.
he has a little guitar and he'll go around singing with the guitar. So he has speech. The only issue that we're having with him is the communications, and there's reciting, hey, yes, that. But yesterday he went to his mom and he said, uh, I want grapes. And he hasn't done that, and I think that this journey that we've gone through, and I've gained so much knowledge just talking to you about his health and running the oat test, running the I can't even say that word,
It's great. Metabolomics. I even have trouble saying that
metabolomics,
one.
metabolomics
Uh-huh.
test, and we ran two of them so far, and we saw great improvement in everything that we've been doing, and I think that we're going down the right path. And last month we started this new journey with the brain balance thing that we've been doing with him for a month and a half now, and we had our first like follow-up meeting with them, and they were so impressed with what we're doing, and they were like, you guys are the model parents for what we want people to do for their kids. Tell us what you're doing. And I told them, I was like, look, like I talked to Lindsey, and we ran all these tests and we did all these things. And I ran through the test. I showed them the results, like back to back, like the screenshot that I took of them. Um, I showed it to them. They're like, "Oh my God, that's amazing! Like you guys did so much, like in such a short span of time." And to me, it feels like forever ago, but it hasn't really been like, and I tell you all the time, it feels like we've been at this forever, but in hindsight, it's only been 6, 7 months that we've been doing this, and we've seen so much improvement on him, and I think that we're going down the right path, and getting his diet straight and getting rid of all the toxic overload that he has in his body. And I think that's very important for people to understand that if you get someone that actually knows what they're doing, like Lindsay, like and understands it and breaks things down to you in English, because you can go off on your things and be like, okay, tell me in English. And
I
he's
feel
like,
like I probably did that with you even like 45 minutes ago when I was talking about the glutamate and the alpha
oh
ketoglutarate.
yeah, I know, but
But,
yeah, like,
but I
but
tried to
I
make
already
it
researched that, so I
right.
already
That's
knew, like,
true.
so.
That's
But the
true.
ammonia and
Yeah,
on
there you
all these things that I'm learning, and it's knowledge that's been spewed on me, and whatever tidbit I learn, I throw it on my social media platforms, and I throw it to people, and people have reached out, and even the brain balance people, they were impressed, and they were like, who are you working with? And I was like, well, look, Lindsay, this is her information, and they're like, can we have it? And like, yeah, absolutely. She would love to get calls from you guys. Like, I'm like, I've never not say, not promote Lindsay, because like my whole thing is I'm promoting an angel, and I tell you this all the time, that you are an angel, you're God sent, because you're amazing with the knowledge that you have. You're like super smart. You know the ins and outs of nutrition, and you break it down to a point where people can understand it and people are going to achieve their goals. Like me, like I was struggling with all kinds of things when we started working, and I've gotten away from diabetic and pre-diabetic and
amazing.
all these things, and I've working out and actually setting goals for myself, and you keep people on track and you keep us accountable, and I'm sure you do it with all your clients. I wouldn't say I'm special and you do it more with me, but but,
You
but
are.
it,
You are special.
but no, like and the things that you've done and the research and the time that you put in to send the emails, the detailed emails to get me the help that I need for Aiden is amazing. Like I never would expect you to take so much time out of your day to do something for my son, and the fact that you do it and that you care and you genuinely care, and you always ask how he's doing and always ask how what we can do to improve him even more is just indicative of the person that you are, and how much you truly care about his well-being and his journey through this. And I think that in a year, or even within the next few months, we'll see a greater improvement in him, because he truly has come along. More eye contact. He's jumping on the scooter. He's scooting along like he's a pro on that thing. And he was scared at first, and now he's like a speed demon on that thing. I got to run after him, so I'm getting cardio working with
Right?
him running
That
off
was
of
the plan
that.
all along. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think I don't know that I told you this, but every time like I would take him for a walk, he knows where the park is, so he wants to go to the park. But I used to take him around the block to the backside of the neighborhood and just come back home. And whenever we got the diagnosis, he didn't want to go. He would throw a fit. He would throw himself on the ground and cry and scream. And I would be like, okay, let's go this way. So I would go where he wanted to go. Now, like last week when we were outside with a scooter, I was like, okay, it's time to turn around. And he turned around, and he didn't throw a fit. When we go outside the ground, we're running around outside in the yard, barefooted and
Grounding.
grounding. And
Yeah.
and he runs. And yeah, yo, absolutely. So much fun in the sun. And
Uh-huh.
uh I tell him, okay, come back, and he'll come back on his own now. And before, man, we had to run after him, because
Yeah.
if he was gone, he was gone. And now I told the people at the Brain Balance Center, I was like, we rode the scooter in the front of the house back and forth, and he didn't complain, he didn't cry, he didn't say, I want to go this way, nothing like
Mhm.
that. He's going to the bathroom on his own. So he's going to do number one on his own. We're still struggling with the second part, but we're working on
That's the
that.
important one. We got to get that one down.
We're, yeah, yeah, oh my God, yes. But we're
We'll get
working
there.
on
We'll
it.
get there.
He's sitting on the toilet now. So
Okay,
that
that's
was a
good.
struggle. So he wasn't he was terrified of the toilet, and now he's sitting down on the toilet. So he's saying that. And so he's doing little communications, things like that. Now he'll tell you poop, but after he already did it. So we're
So we're
trying to
getting
get that.
there.
We're trying to get that part, like, okay, yes, good, but
Uh-huh.
we need to go here. And so,
Yeah.
but I think gradually, like I tell you all the time, you want to take a giant step, but I think it's the little steps in between that we're hitting that's getting us to the bigger steps that we want to see. And I think that we've been doing that a lot. And I think that right now we're hitting those other milestones now. Was doing all the exercises. He did a plank like the other day on the Bosu ball, and he was doing the plank. And he's doing the his exercises when we're doing, so he's getting stronger. I used to try to get him to hang on my
Uh-huh.
arm or whatever. Now he's doing it, because he,
Good.
he wouldn't he wouldn't do it before. He would just let himself drop, and now he's hanging and swinging when I hold him up, and and getting his ab and core workouts and doing all that good stuff. And that all goes hand in hand with the nutrition and everything that they've taught us. And I think that's important that people know that. And people, because a lot of people, I feel like they don't know that. They don't know about the microbiome. They don't know about the everything that's going on in their little bodies, and they want to feed them all this junk food, because I get it, because at first when we encountered this, we wanted to get them to eat. And the
Yeah.
only thing that we would get them to eat was this junk food that wasn't good, bread and all this bad stuff, cheese and whatever. So I think kind of like curbing all of that and fixing that and taking that away from him is helping him tremendously. Now he gets away with a little bit of bread, but I get him like Dave's Killer Bread that we talk
Mm.
about. But we still try not to limit those things to make sure that we're doing the right thing for him. And
Gotta
it's
have
hard.
that pacha bread.
The pacha bread. I
Gotta
have
get
some
on
in
that
the fridge.
pacha.
I have some in the freezer.
Good, good.
So
It's gluten free, everyone. Pacha bread's gluten free. All my clients know I
yeah.
sing its praises, and some people tell me that they think it's disgusting, and some people tell me they love it, but I love it. So,
The
pacha.
siete tortillas too. So we give them the
Yeah.
siete tortillas.
Mhm.
So he'll have those, and he walks around with the little tortillas, and he's happy. So it's good.
It's
But
about
I
finding
think
the
those
right replacements.
right, yeah,
Yeah.
and like he'll eat the turkey bacon and the chicken sausages, and things like that. Things that I didn't think he would eat, he's
Mhm.
eating now, especially for breakfast. Which we talk about that all the time. Breakfast is the most important meal when you wake up, and
Mhm.
the goal is always to eat within the 30 minutes of waking up and or whatnot. So yeah, we try to do that and make sure that we're following everything that you recommend for us to do for him with the supplements. And I think that's a big game changer too. Like the supplements, nobody really talks too much about supplements. I see like the forums for autism that I'm in, a lot of people promoting these vitamins like Ella Ola and all these other, and then you read about it and they have high, uh, you know toxic levels in those things, and they're not really helping your kids. And I think
You
people are
can go
just
wrong.
desperate.
You can go wrong quickly with supplements if it's not being overseen and if you are just kind of grabbing at straws, it can get messy real quick, real
And
quick.
I yeah, and I see that a lot of people go down the rabbit hole of because you're trying, and I get it because you're desperate for answers and you're desperate to get your kid better, and that's what we saw ourselves. But I have like 10 books here in the office on autism, and people that have cured their kids of autism, and I take tidbits, and if I have questions I always call you or text you, and you always answer, and it's amazing that you do that for me. Like if I have a question, I always ask Lindsay because I'm gonna get a straight up answer from you, and that's what I love about it. Like, you're not gonna sugarcoat things. You're gonna tell me no, don't do that because we're doing this, and if you do this, it's gonna screw this up, and you don't want to do this, and so you want to
But
maintain.
let me add
Mhm.
though, you are very intelligent and you actually aren't the person that's just like, "Oh, I heard this random ad. Can we do it?" No, you actually send me PubMed articles. Like you know what's up. And then you're like, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And honestly, you've sent me things that have taught me things. So like, thank you for doing that because I never want to assume I know everything and well, no one should, duh, but people do. And so, like, there might be something out there that I haven't heard of. So, what I'm going to do though is I'm just going to make sure there's validity to it, check it against the research, and make sure that it's fitting within the picture of what we're trying to do. So, yeah. But no, I tell you if I'm like, no, that's stupid.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and that's what I love about it because I have that confidence in being able to send you articles because if I hear something that I haven't heard before, you're right. Like I don't just go by their word. It's not gospel, right? So I I take a screenshot of it, and then I jump on the computer and I search it up, and I go onto PubMed and I look it up. And if it's something that I don't really understand, I send it to you so that you can and you interpret it for me. And you're like, yeah, you know what? Let me check. And then you get back to me, yeah, this would be good for Aiden, and so we develop a plan that to add it on to his already, supplements or whatever it is. And I think that's something important because I don't think that parents really have
Yeah.
that that type of relationship with anybody really to that tells them, hey, no, this is not good for you or this is not good for your kid. You need to, do this and do that and stick to this plan because you're gonna see the improvement. And again, I understand because parents are desperate for answers, and you don't get those answers from your PCP or and the insurance doesn't really care. And I think like I told you this at the time when we talked to the people at the Brain Balance Center. They told me something that resonated with me, and they're like, well, when have you seen insurance cover something that works? And I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. It's like so
Yeah.
that stuck with me. It stuck with me, because you're right. That they're right. It's not in their best interest to fix our kids. It's not in their best interest to fix us. It's in our best interest to look for answers and look for answers not from your doctors because they're getting paid by these insurance companies. Like at the
Yeah.
end of the day, there are some good doctors out there that are going to tell you, no, you don't need this. No, but that's rare. It's very rare in today's world, where money, rules everything. And um,
The system is
I-
just not set up for doctors to be able to take that individual time, which is why I have the business model that I do. I always want that personal relationship with my clients. And if I have as many clients as your standard PCP, I literally would not be able to do to the degree of accuracy and precision and care that I want to do with each person. So I know that like I will never take an infinite, well, okay, so my one-on-one clients, I'll never take infinite number, but I'm setting up other things to be able to help more people, but that's going to be always different and separate than what I do here. And the insurance won't cover preventative things more often than not. So
right,
like the gut test we run, it's not going to cover that. The organic acid test we run, it's not going to cover that. Like I've never seen an insurance company cover an organic acid test. The genetic SNP test that we've done on Aiden, which was so helpful for us because now we know like Aiden's going to need to supplement with choline probably is more of an ongoing thing because his body has a much increased need for that. And choline is key for brain health. And that was super helpful for us to know. Like we know he doesn't convert the beta carotene vitamin A into the active retinol vitamin A with a great degree because he has that SNP that makes the conversion. So we know we need to focus on getting the retinol sources because that's extremely important for our immune function and for so many different areas. Like vitamin A actually has a direct role with our DNA replication. So these vitamins are so underestimated. The power of vitamins, the fact that they regulate gene transcription, like zinc and vitamin A do that, like people don't know. People
right,
don't know that,
exactly. Yeah,
And so when we understand the power of vitamins and minerals and balanced nutrients, it changes the game. So we'll have to do a part two of this maybe sometime so we can get into more of maybe the nuts and bolts that maybe we'll get some questions from people who watch this and say, well, tell me more about this thing that you did or tell me more about that. And we can share a little bit more specifics with like some of the tests that we ran that really helped us. And then we can continue to update on Aiden's progress because we just got his last gut test results back and we have some more things that now we can see, okay, now this needs to be addressed. And we do it in phases because we don't want to overwhelm the system with supplements. So we have to, pick a few at a time and go because once you start adding on too many supplements, it's too much for the body to handle. And
right.
then all the hard work you're trying to do, you're just like slashing at the foundation immediately. So it has to be done in stages. Slow and steady wins the race. Very, very rarely does someone have an overnight miracle recovery. I don't ever want to discount that can be done. Like, never like think that something is impossible. But at the same time, trying to balance like optimism with realism is really important.
Right.
And there's a lot of false promises being sold out there because parents are desperate and people take advantage of that weakness. And it really happens way more often than people realize. So,
Yeah.
but no, you've done an amazing job. Like Aiden is so lucky to have you as his dad because you have moved the earth and like you will do anything for your kids. And it is so clear. And we were even just talking about that. I mean, you make a huge sacrifice with your work schedule. You work insane hours that most people would be like, yeah, forget this because of your kids. And so it's really like it's an inspiration for me to watch and to see that, hey, you can have all of this going on in your life and you can still find your way forward through it all. So props to you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Any
It,
closing remarks?
no, for parents that are out there looking for answers for their kids with autism, ADHD, call Lindsey.
Wow,
Call Lindsay.
I don't think this would be an
I say
infomercial for me, but
I say that all the time. No, but there's hope for everybody.
there
But
is. There is.
it's like you said, and I think that that's one of the things that you always told me: slow and steady wins the race. And I have to tell you all the time. It's like I see these improvements, but I want to see them like 100 miles per hour, and we're
Mhm.
going 10 miles per hour, and but. I think like I have to take a step back sometimes and say, hey, you're going down the right path, and I think that that's the biggest thing that relaxes me. It's like we've seen this much improvement in this amount of time. Let's keep going because we're doing something right and we're working, to rectify everything that's going on because honestly, if we didn't run all these tests, I wouldn't have known everything that was going on in his body. I wouldn't have understood it. And I think that that's something that parents need to do is understand a little bit more and do a little bit more research because when they tell you that your kid has to live with this their entire life, that's not true.
Yeah.
And you can't accept that as an answer. As a parent, I refuse to accept that as an answer for my kid because I would be doing a disservice for him if I just said okay and just left it at that. I have to. That's going to be his life, and to me, no, that's not going to be his life, and that's not going to be what defines him as a person. And I think that's my motivation to keep going and to do this and to do the research because I owe it to him to make sure that he has a good life. And every parent, I think, has the same goal. It's just that some some have been deflated because they haven't gotten the answers that they want or worked with the right people to get those answers. And I hope that people that see this, it gives them hope and they understand, and do a little bit more research and they can find those answers.
Yeah, no, well said. I really appreciate you being willing to share this and give other people hope in the process. So thank you so much. I wasn't expecting you to say all those kind things about me, but I'm really honored that this could have, come together in the way it has. And I'm really looking forward to, continuing to see him progress because I really do believe he'll continue to progress. And I love what you're doing with him at the Brain Balance Center and that you're taking the holistic approach because the more you started telling me about it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's like limbic system retraining, which all my clients know that I love, I'm obsessed with, and like all the grounding and the bilateral stimulation. I'm like, yes, like I use those tools. I don't necessarily go to that center, but I use those tools on myself. And so I think you're doing all the right things and you're sourcing your next steps appropriately. Well, we leave the comment section open for people to let us know what they want to hear next, and then we'll do a part two at some point in the near future after we get some more feedback.